Hey folks, Katie here. This is a old Dysfunction Junction episode from the vault from January of 2023, back when we had so much hope and so much energy. And the reason that you're hearing this today instead of a new episode is because it turns out that having a farm in springtime is really busy, and Garrett did not account for that in scheduling her day over the weekend, and so we are a little bit behind. But given that Gene Hackman, or maybe Hugh Jackman, just passed away under suspicious circumstances, we thought we should bring you our Dysfunction Junction episode where I try to figure out if the movie starred Gene Hackman or Hugh Jackman. I hope you enjoy, and make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Blue Sky, at The Bar is Ankle High, and on TikTok at Ankle High Pod. If you aren't on our Patreon and you want ad-free, extended, and video episodes, then go to patreon.com/thebarsanklehigh. For just $5 a month, you can get all of that. And we have merch at bit.ly/anklehighmerch. So until next week, try to budget your time a little bit better than Garrett has, because the bar is ankle high. Welcome, Patreon.
What is
Episode 10 of Dysfunction Junction.
Well, I'm glad that you've been keeping track.
Yeah, I paid attention this week when the episode came out.
And I was like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Garrett.
I'm Katie.
This week, we are doing another game. We're doing back-to-back games. But I created the game this week, and
I'm so excited.
The game is Gene Hackman or Hugh Jackman. So I am going to give you the synopsis and name of the movie. And you are going to tell me if Gene Hackman was in it or Hugh Jackman.
Oh my Christ.
And I am terrified I am going to fuck up the name now. Because I called the game Hugh Hackman.
Oh, shit.
I guess I could have also called it Gene Jackman, but, you know. So let's see how this goes.
Oh, God,
so
so good.
I also stuck with the 11 questions.
Okay.
Again, I don't think a tie is going to be a problem, but, you know, whatever. Question 1. Ants. Z, the worker ant, strives to reconcile his own individuality with the communal work ethic of the ant colony. He falls in love with Ant Princess Bala. Z strives to make social inroads and then must save the ant colony from the treacherous, scheming, evil General Mandible that threatens to wipe out the entire worker population.
Do I get to know which of those characters was played by Gene or Hugh?
Nope.
I think that's a Gene Hackman movie.
Yes, it is a Gene Hackman.
General Mandible?
Yes. Yes, that's probably going to be the only one that I remember which character he was, so good luck.
I can't wait to ask you.
Was he this one or this one? That's a great question, Katie. Question 2. Oh, I should probably keep track of your score.
I'll keep track. I have fingers.
Great, cool. I don't, so somebody's gonna...
Stumps.
Swiping with my nubs. Question 2, deception. Oh, I do have the year, if you need a hint. I have the year that the movie came out.
Okay.
As a corporate auditor who works in a number of different offices, Jonathan McQuarrie wanders without an anchor among New York's power brokers. A chance meeting with a charismatic lawyer, Wyatt Bowes, leads to Jonathan's introduction to The List, an underground sex club. Jonathan begins an affair with a woman who's only known as S, who introduces Jonathan to a world of treachery and murder.
Murder. Is that Gene Hackman again?
No, that is Hugh Jackman.
I love the imagery of Hugh Jackman in a sex club, though, because that man is a fox.
Just to be clear, I definitely mean Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
And not Gene.
The Australian one is a fox. I would climb him like a tree. I would make Gene Hackman
Oh, God.
a nice scone or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Gene Hackman's 92.
Holy shit!
Yeah, because I've been doing a lot of Gene Hackman Googling the last couple days, let me tell you.
He's an old boy.
No. Number 3. Swordfish. There exists a world within our world.
That's Hugh Jackman.
Okay. Correct. Number 4. Superman. I am not giving a synopsis because we know this movie, it is Superman.
Okay, but it's not Henry Cavill, which is a bummer. And X-Men is DC. So it wouldn't be Wolverine in the Superman movie. Or X-Men is Marvel, I mean. Superman is DC. Okay. Is there a synopsis? No, you said.
I said, my actual words were, you don't need a synopsis for this movie. It's Superman.
Can I have a year?
The year will definitely give you the answer. 1978.
Ah, yes. That would be the gene.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
Oh, I got another one. I got Swordfish.
Yes. You got Swordfish, Superman, and ants.
Yeah.
Heartbreakers. A mother and daughter work with the sweetest of frauds. The mom marries a rich guy, then the daughter gets him into a compromising position, and then the mom walks away with a big divorce settlement. In a twist of fate, the mother falls for their new target, a tycoon, and the daughter falls for a $3 million beach bar owner.
I think that's Gene Hackman.
Yeah, it is Gene Hackman. See, one of the things that gives you an edge is you've seen movies.
I have seen movies.
Do remember them.
I remember seeing Heartbreakers because it's with Susan Sarandon and Jennifer Love Hewitt, right?
That sounds right. I took all the actors' names out of this because I was afraid that if I left it in, I would accidentally read it. So I had to make it a mystery also to me. Because I know what I'm working with here.
It's like, whose line is it anyway? When it's like the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Yes. And I know
I don't know how I got here.
Number 6. The Mexican. Jerry Welback, a reluctant bagman who has been given 2 ultimatums. The first is from his mob boss to travel to Mexico and retrieve a priceless antique pistol known as the Mexican or suffer the consequences. The second is from his girlfriend Samantha to end his association with the mob. Jerry figures alive and in trouble with Samantha is better than the more permanent alternative, so he heads south of the border.
I think Gene Hackman because I think the star of that movie was Brad Pitt.
Finance.
Yes.
Yes, it was Gene Hackman. Oh, I had a stroke briefly.
Yeah, Garrett's struggling with the words today.
Having a hard time.
Tune into the regular episode.
Yeah, really bodes well for the rest of the day. Number 7, the front runner. Gary Hart, a former senator from Colorado, becomes the front runner for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1987. Hart's intelligence, charisma, and idealism makes him popular with young voters, leaving him with a seemingly clear path to the White House. All that comes crashing down when allegations of an extramarital affair surface in the media, forcing the candidate to address a scandal that threatens to derail his campaign and personal life.
Gene Hackman?
Hugh Jackman.
Oh.
I know, I tried to pick ones that were like, could go either way.
Yeah, it was the 1987 that threw me off.
Yeah. That was...
Good job.
Thank you.
Good gob.
Thank you. I feel like this one you're also going to guess. Someone Like You. Jane Goodale has everything going for her. She's a producer on a popular daytime talk show and is in a hot romance with the show's dashing executive producer, Ray. But when the relationship goes terribly awry, Jane begins an extensive study on the male animal, including her womanizing roommate, Eddie. Jane puts her studies and romantic misadventures to use as a pseudonymous. Pseudonymous?
Like
Pseudonymous? Like a pseudonym.
uh-huh.
Oh, God. Sex columnist and becomes a sensation. We'll just pretend I didn't have another mental break in between those two questions.
Did the synopsis actually say pseudonymous?
It says it's Pseudonymous. So it's like pseudonym.
Pseudonymous.
It's like pseudonym and anonymous.
Yeah.
Mixed. I'm going to Google it and see if that's actually a word, because I feel like I just got by
that's
this Wikipedia.
If that's a word, I'm going to...
Shit, it's a word.
How does it say it's supposed to be pronounced?
That's a good question.
Can you make it speak?
Oh. Pseudonymous.
That sounds like a dinosaur.
Yeah, that's one of those words that I usually will find a different way to use it so that
That's what I do with effect and affect.
I will just go around. I will find the detour for that word. So anyway.
Pseudemus, the dinosaur.
So someone like you.
Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this one he plays Eddie.
Oh, the
roommate.
The womanizing roommate.
Yes.
When did that come out?
2001. I think Ashley Judd was the lead.
I mean, I was, 12.
Yeah, that's like when that was probably the only era that I have any familiarity with, like, rom-coms. Rom-coms were, like, very big, and that's when I...
big into rom-coms, yeah.
Yeah, when I would actually watch them before I got cynical.
Which is ironic, given that you're the married one here.
Still cynical. Number 9. Get Shorty. Chili Palmer is a Miami mobster who gets sent by his boss, the psychopathic Bones Barboni, to collect a bad debt from Harry Zim, a Hollywood producer who specializes in cheesy horror films. When Chili meets Harry's leading lady, the romantic sparks fly. After pitching his own life story as a movie idea, Chili learns that being a mobster and being a Hollywood producer aren't really all that different.
Hugh Jackman?
Gene Hackman.
God damn it.
I think he plays Harry Zim, the Hollywood producer.
He doesn't play Boner McBoner, the
He doesn't.
mobster guy.
No, I don't think he plays Bones Barbaroni. Or Barboni. I might have added an extra syllable into that.
Doesn't matter, because Snuffleupagus is evidently a word for pseudonymous dinosaurs.
I'm just glad it's not just me, because I'm looking at that and I'm like, who? I felt good about this until that moment.
They say that it's an indication that you're well read when you mispronounce a word but you use it correctly. Because it just means that you've read it and you just haven't heard it out loud.
You know what? That does happen to me sometimes where I'm like, I know that I know what that word means. Do I know how to pronounce it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like just maybe the 90s or something, but like they heavily, and maybe they still do, but like really harped on picking up context clues when you don't know the definition of the word.
Yeah.
And I rely on that so much.
So much.
All the time.
That and like trying to break down the word into like other words that I know are similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I must just be getting lazier or older. I can't be getting older. And
I must only be getting lazier. It's the only option.
But I am so quick to Google weird words now.
Oh, yeah. I'm also at the point where I'm like, I am not wasting my time here. What does this mean?
Yeah, just Google it.
Yep. A dictionary? No. I don't need it. And I used to, and it's so funny because like I used to keep a dictionary and a thesaurus on my desk. So that, okay, if I don't know what this word means, or if I need a word that's kind of like that, because I've used this word before.
Oh, I use thesaurus.com at least twice a week in my job.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I will say accordingly and therefore a billion times.
Yeah. Number 10, and I think you're going to get this one. Prisoners. Keller Dover faces a parent's worst nightmare when his 6-year-old daughter Anna and her friend go missing. The only lead is an old motorhome that has been parked on their street. The head of the investigation, Detective Loki, arrests the driver. I know, that's a weird name, right? It's a weird choice.
Detective Loki and his brother Thor.
Arrests the driver, but a lack of evidence forces Loki to release his only suspect. Dover, knowing that his daughter's life is at stake, decides that he has no choice but to take matters into his own hands.
Gene Hackman?
Oh, that's Hugh Jackman.
Oh.
I actually just watched it last night on Netflix because they just recently posted it. Oh. Have you seen that movie before?
No.
It's got a good twist.
When did it come out?
2013.
Oh, okay.
It's Hugh Jackman as the dad. Terrence Howard plays the other dad of the other girl. I think Viola Davis was the other mom. And then Jake Gyllenhaal was the detective.
Oh, I like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, he was
Even
pretty
if
good.
He dumped Taylor Swift.
Even with that in mind.
Even when he stole Taylor Swift's scarf.
And who was the other one? Oh, Paul Dano played the guy in the motorhome, and he's an excellent actor, but man, such a creep. Like, so good at being a creep.
I have to look it up because
it's got a surprisingly good.
Oh yeah,
the plot twists were pretty good.
God,
do you know the one I'm talking about now?
Such a good creep. Yes, he was in what was he in? That just is chilling me every time.
He was also in. I don't know if you saw that Daniel Day-Lewis movie, There Will Be Blood.
I haven't seen that, but it swept the Oscars.
Yeah, it was a really excellent. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is the greatest. It was a really excellent movie, but he played twins, I think.
Oh wow.
He played both of these twins, and was excellent. He's been in a bunch of stuff that
he's 38. I'm surprised.
He's been in so many things.
I'm thinking of him in Looper. Is where I know him from. But
I haven't seen that.
Oh, I like it. I think it's a easy action movie.
Did you ever see Swiss Army Man?
I didn't. I heard it was kind of weird.
Oh, it's a super weird It's super weird. I thought it was great, but it's real weird. Yeah, he's an excellent actor, and he's really good at being creepy.
Yeah, it's something about his, I think it's the pointy chin, kind of.
Yeah, he's got one of those faces that can really do a lot of different roles, I guess. Yeah. But there's also something about his voice.
Yes. And he can, he kind of does the emo hair in most things, but it is so, he's got the perfect hair to get greasy and look like a slime ball.
Yeah. Kind of. And I see red carpet pictures and I'm like, oh, he's normal looking.
Right.
But then I see him in that movie last night and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. He also reminds me of, did you ever watch Judge Dredd?
No.
It was a remake of Dredd, but from the 80s. But in the remake, there's a guy who is doing surveillance or whatever, and he's kind of like a prisoner or whatever. He plays one of the Weasley brothers in the Harry Potter movies, one of the older ones, but he reminds me of that as well. The same kind of twitchiness.
Yeah, he was really unsettling in this movie. He did a weird thing with his voice. It's a good movie and the twist is good. I And I just put it on last night because it was like showing up in the Netflix, like newly added. And I was like, oh, that was a really good movie. And I just kind of turned it on just to have something on last night while I was finishing up my episode. And then we just wound up watching it because it was like, it's compelling.
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman was excellent in it, but it's a very heavy movie for him.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want the last question?
Yes.
Welcome to Mooseport.
Oh, that's Gene Hackman.
Okay, yeah, so I won't read you the description of that one. I do have a fun fact about each of them as well.
I would love it. Is it that Hugh Jackman is in love with me and is going to fight PK for my heart?
It's not.
Weird.
I took that out of the last draft of this.
Makes sense.
Gene Hackman has played the president in 3 different movies, which I think Welcome to Mooseport is one of them.
Probably.
Yeah, former U.S.
He was
president.
a senator in The Birdcage.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I mean, he's played a lot of like.
I liked him in
political.
Enemy of the State too. He was good.
I almost used that one. I was like, she's definitely seen that movie. I'm definitely not gonna.
Yeah, that's one that I rewatch on the reg. Because it's like an easy, like I've seen it before, so it's like good background noise, but it's also interesting, and I like it. It was like on the cusp of like current modern technology enough that like you don't feel like you're watching like an old Bond movie from the 60s or something.
Right.
Sorry. So anyway, he's been president in 3 movies.
Yep. The fact I have about Hugh Jackman, which I thought was interesting. So Russell Crowe was actually the first choice for Wolverine.
Oh, yeah, I would climb him too.
And yeah, I always thought Russell Crowe was like kind of like brooding and like intense.
It's the chest hair with like, oh God, I would just do so many.
I think it's like the
depraved things.
The tough, like quiet, grumbly.
Which is funny because you really hate that in real life.
I just find it attractive in male celebrities.
You minimum $50 million net worth, and then you can be brooding.
And then I think it's great. Then it's a look that I go for. So I guess Russell Crowe declined, and he recommended to the studio that they pick Hugh Jackman, who was like still not like really well known. The studio then selected Doug Ray Scott, and I had to Google him because I was not sure who he was.
Yeah, who's that?
I'll flip it around so you can see him. Once I saw him, I was like, oh, I know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
So he was the studio's choice after Russell Crowe for Wolverine. And he, I think, had to drop out at the last minute. So Hugh Jackman was actually the 3rd choice for Wolverine, which is crazy because he's played that role for like over 20 years.
Yeah, he has. I'm glad that they didn't pick Doug Ray Scott, though, or Dugaray, or whatever the fuck his name is.
You know what? You're right. It's probably not pronounced Doug Ray. Didn't even occur to me it could be pronounced a different way until you said
I think it's Dugray. He is Scottish, though.
Oh my god. That's rich. Oh, shit. That's hysterical. Every time I read it, I'm like, what a terrible, that sounds like such a trashy name. Who did that?
People listening at home are like, who the fuck is Doug Ray Scott?
And I didn't Google him until we just were sitting here, so I had no idea. And if I had seen he was from the UK, I probably wouldn't have pronounced it Doug Ray. But man, that's funny. That is excellent. 5 stars. Oh, that made me laugh cry. So that was our Hugh Jackman versus Gene Hackman game, also known as Hugh Hackman or Gene Jackman.
Yeah.
What was your score?
I think I had 6.
That's not bad.
So just over 50%.
That's much better than I did.
55%.
Minimum competency.
Minimum competency, baby.
We hope you enjoyed another one of our game shows that we made up that's unhinged.
I like our unhinged games.
Yeah, you know what? And it's good to we get all the weird out before we have to record something real.
Yes. Which is
it works out well.
Real I'm glad that we figured that out
yes.
early enough.
Yes. Because then the flip side is we try and record Patreon and we're so tired from recording real things that we're comatose.
Well, and our editor gets real mad at us for our regular episodes. Yes. Because there's a lot of bizarro tangents about flamenco dancers or Vegas showgirls and flappy doodles.
Yeah, my favorite is still going to always go back to getting a text from him that says, "Do you really want me to keep in this conversation about Harvey Weinstein's balls?"
Yeah. Why would you delete
and
that?
Me getting really indignant, like, yeah, duh.
Like in Dumb and Dumber, they, in the beginning, they're like starting their road trip, and Lloyd, played by Jim Carrey, is like eating snacks, and Harry, played by Jeff Daniels, is like, what are you doing? We can't spend any money that like we don't talk about. We have very limited funds. And he's like, don't worry about it. I took care of it. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I just sold some stuff. What? Like, Petey, the bird whose head got ripped off. He's like, what do you mean? You sold our dead bird with no head? And he's like, yeah, I took care of it. And they cut to the blind kid that he sold the bird to.
Oh my God.
And he had, like, glued a ping pong ball into where the head is supposed to be. And it's like, I think Haley Joel Osment, and he's just sitting there going, pretty bird,
oh my God.
Bird.
Side note, have you watched, there's a documentary on Netflix about Jim Carrey recording Man in the Moon.
I haven't watched that
The
documentary
Truman
yet.
Show. It is so interesting.
I've heard that, like, he went, like, heavily method with the Andy Kaufman thing.
Yeah, like so they interview Jim Carrey, like, throughout the whole thing, and it is, like, legitimately a very kind of touching story, but he was saying that, like, when they approached him about doing this movie, he was, like, sitting on the beach and, like, kind of thinking about Andy, and he, like, insists that Andy Kaufman kind of, like, took over him, and he was, like, Andy Kaufman for the whole recording.
That's wild.
And he was even saying at the end, like, after they recorded it, REM did that song for the movie, like, the score, and they wanted him in the video playing Andy Kaufman. He was like, I had just spent so much time, like, I was still trying to figure out who I was now. And it was so crazy, too, because Andy Kaufman, like, Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman would talk about Jim Carrey, like, in the third person. And he was like, well, Jim's really insecure when it comes to this and this. He's always got a problem with blah, blah, blah because of this, and had all this, like, clarity. It was wild. Like, met his family members who were, like, his brother was there. Andy Kaufman's brother came to visit the set. His dad, his sister, and they were all, like, talking about this, like, closure that they got because they were talking to him. They were like, it was him. It was so crazy. It's so worth watching. It was a really interesting. Yeah, he winds up hanging out with Andy Kaufman's, like, best friend and the guy he did all his writing with winds up, like, hanging out with Jim Carrey the whole time, and they just, like, start acting like him and Andy Kaufman did, like, way back. Getting into trouble and, like, pranks on people and...
You and me in the afterlife.
Causing chaos on the set. Like, he'd get into fights with the director, and finally, like, everybody got to the point where they just understood, like, this is not just, like, Jim Carrey.
Right.
It was wild. It was a really interesting thing.
Huh.
And normally I'm kind of, like, rolling my eyes and stuff like that, but it was... The way they told the story was really good. Like, they had an issue with the studio because they were recording all this stuff and the studio didn't want them recording it. I think that's part of why it took so long for it to come out, too.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, it was really good. Worth watching. I don't remember what it's called. Andy
Probably
and Me, maybe?
I
I don't remember. I think it might be Andy and Me.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
But we had actually already watched it, and my spouse turned it on, and I was like, we've already seen this. And then sat and watched the whole thing. And I was like, man, that was so good. Yeah, I know it was.
PK and I were talking about the new Knives Out movie, Glass Onion. Mm-hmm. Because it's on Netflix or Peacock or something now.
Yeah, we watched it on Christmas or something.
Yeah. So...
What is Knives Out? Like, is this like a...
It's kind of like a series, I think. Like, the initial Knives Out movie had, what's his face from the newer James Bond movies, Daniel Craig.
Oh, he's in this one too, the Glass Onion, yeah.
And he's like an investigator, and it's almost like Clue, like if you were to watch.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't know that there was more than one of those.
Yeah, Glass Onion's the third one.
Oh, I had no idea. I didn't know.
So I've seen the first one, but don't really remember it. Like, was doing other things, pre-medication, pre-diagnosis, was doing other things, and so I was like, yeah, I definitely didn't see the second one. I saw the first one. Like, I remember it kind of being like a twist or something at the end, and Patrick was like, well, then you need to rewatch them before we can see the third one. And I was like, I feel like that's not the case.
Nope, I just watched Glass Onion and I had no idea.
Other than, like, I would imagine that there's probably, like, some Easter egg callbacks or something like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he was like, well, you have to rewatch it. And I was like, okay. It's not Lord of the Rings.
He would fully not be able to have a conversation with me about any movie things. Because I'd be like, oh, yeah, I saw that once.
No, it is ideal, though, that you and I have each other.
Yes.
And then our partners have each other.
Yes. They remember all of these movies that I'm like, wow.
What kills me is that, like,
CK
will say stuff like, oh, and so-and-so and so-and-so, and he, like, rattles off all these different names, and especially if we're on the phone with each other.
Character names?
Yeah.
Oh, never in a million.
And that's when I'm like, yep, I don't know. I guess I just don't remember. Because, like, I can at least remember broad strokes, but, like, unless I've seen the movie multiple times, like Dumb and Dumber or The Grinch, then, like...
I'm very good at knowing what else somebody has been in. Mm-hmm. I'm great at that. I can tell you, oh, yeah, they were also in, like, this and this and this. That's the extent. I can tell you, I'll be like, oh, yeah, they were in this movie, right? Don't remember what the movie was about. Don't remember what character they played. I just know that they were in it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm real bad when it comes to that.
As usual, together we make a full person.
Yeah, there's like one whole brain here. Two partial brains limping along. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
To this week's game show. Gene Jackman, Hugh Hackman.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I had to think about that.
Do, like, some quick math on that.
Yeah, I was like, did I just have another story? Was that actually correct? And we will talk to you again in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Next. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be here 2 weeks from now with another Dysfunction Junction to delight your ear holes. In the meantime, the best way to support us is to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast streaming platform and to share us with your friends. And, even better, get your friends to sign up so that you can talk to them about these ridiculous episodes that we put up on here every other week. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself, because the